Today, we're going to combine the power of DraftSight with the 3D Experience platform all around several common facility management use cases. My name is Raymond Busman, and I'm a business industry consultant with Dassault Systems. I would like to personally thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join me today. For those of you that might not be familiar with DraftSight, let me provide a very quick overview. DraftSight is a professional-grade 2D design and drafting application. It's been on the market for over 10 years, serving a worldwide client base of over 200,000 customers. One of its greatest strengths is its minimal learning curve. Whether this is your first CAD application out of college, or like me, you've been around a while, it's very easy to pick up. In addition, DraftSight offers a wide range of licensing options, so you have the flexibility to pick the solution that's going to meet your company's needs. DraftSight allows you to work with all kinds of 2D drawing formats, including DXF, DGN, and DWG. It has a very familiar user interface, and all the commands you've learned over the years will still work. DraftSight is truly a global application that's been localized in 14 different languages. It also includes too many drawing standards to count, allowing you to create drawings your way regardless of the country or region you are from. Reusing existing design data is important, and we have full support for dynamic blocks and symbol libraries. No matter what version of DraftSight you use, it also comes with a highly customizable user interface and a comprehensive API, so you can create your own customizations. DraftSight's not just one product, it's an entire portfolio. We have DraftSight Professional and DraftSight Enterprise. These are your 2D workhorses and are very similar to AutoCAD LT. Then we have DraftSight Premium and DraftSight Enterprise Plus. This adds the ability to have 2D constraints and 3D modeling. DraftSight Enterprise and Enterprise Plus also comes with network licensing, allowing you to share multiple licenses for many different users. Then we come to the 3D Experience DraftSight, which is a combined solution of DraftSight and the power of the 3D Experience platform. The 3D Experience platform is a single solution that brings together many different applications into a single collaborative environment. At its core, it connects all of your team members together, encourages collaboration across all activities, and provides visibility to all users from any device. Some of the most common elements are highly customizable dashboards, communities for having persistent communication, data management, as well as preview and markup. Just like DraftSight, the 3D Experience platform also gives you the flexibility to choose the tools that are going to meet your needs today. Some of the main differences is if you, as a team, need structured collaboration. Structured collaboration makes sure that every change is documented and controlled through a revision-enabled workflow process. To help expand on these differences, here are 3 examples of using DraftSight on the 3D Experience platform. On the left is unstructured collaboration with DraftSight Professional. That's for those that don't need project management or structured document management. On the right is adding the formal process of change management, revision control, life cycles, all into a project management architecture with Premium. Today I'm going to show the middle option, where I can keep my collaboration with my team unstructured, but add a formalized project management process. This allows us to track tasks, resource utilization, and enable visibility across the team. Now let's get to the most exciting part, the demo. Today we are going to be walking through some very common challenges in the facility management area. Don't worry if you aren't a facilities team member. The collaboration and change requirements are very common to anyone that needs to share design with more than just themselves. Let's follow a small design team to see how the platform helps them collaborate around several required floor plan changes. We begin by dropping in on the project manager and the team's project dashboard. The dashboard is a very configurable view of all the important information about this project. As you can see, the project manager is starting in the SWIM community, a real-time collaborative space to share comments, ideas, and team member exchanges. In this example, the entire facilities management team is using one community. There are many ways of sharing information from within the community, from something as straightforward as a post to organizing a lot of content into a wiki page. Today, the project manager is going to choose a WeDo. This is basically a post that can be assigned to users for very specific action. By assigning the WeDo to an individual, that individual will automatically get a notification and this new task will show up in their to-do list. In addition to simple task assignment and management, that same we do can be incorporated into the project plan, thus impacting future deadlines and milestones. On the left is the water building project plan. You can quickly see the summary stats where the milestones, tasks, burn down rate, and resource utilizations are displayed. It also has a Gantt-like visual calendar. The platform takes advantage of drag and drop, so our WeDo can simply be dragged into the project in order to include it. Tasks can have a fixed or flexible start and end dates. Flexible allows the project planner to optimize the schedule based upon dependencies. Dependencies are simple to add, again using drag and drop. The project manager just got a real-time notification that a comment was made. It looks like there is a question of exactly what the conference room needs to be modified to. The project manager can preview the shared file through the platform and using the annotation capability, zoom into an area of change and add a markup directly to the view. Then this annotation can be added back to the comments, giving the designer all the information that they require. Now let's check in with the project designer. We need to modify room 1182 into a temporary VP office. It's common to have to find specific areas of the layout, so we will use the standard find command to quickly browse to that location. For this building, we have a standard office furniture setup, so we can replicate the office by copying the block from an existing office. We are utilizing these blocks to do floor takeoffs, office counts, and maps. Our room name blocks are also used for employee assignments, names, etc. Here, we will update the name of the room. Layers are an important tool for design. DraftSight has many tools to help manage layers and get the most out of them. We have our neighborhood regions that are defined that need to be updated. Using the layer state, we'll turn on all the regions. First, we'll remove the old conference room region. We also need to update the 3Experience neighborhood to include this office. We can simply use the grip points to quickly extend and capture it. Since we are adjusting the neighborhood, we need to update the floor's PDF that is distributed to the team. Switching over to the PDF layout, we can see that we have an Excel embedded table that is pulling the square footage for all the neighborhoods. We can activate the Excel spreadsheet and can update the table by pulling the new square footage with an embedded macro that will link Excel to DraftSight. We also have one more task to do for this floor. We've been asked to create a conference room only map. So we will quickly copy the layout that we have for our neighborhood. We don't need the legend or the square footage table, so we can quickly remove them. Back to the layer management, it is really important to be able to make mask changes as required. Here we want to limit the background colors by making everything a grayscale. So we will activate the viewport, and now using the layer filters, a powerful way to organize common layer selections, we can select all layers that are not part of our title block and set them to the color gray. We apply those changes so you can see the effect. We still have a little bit of a layer work to do. This time let's reverse selection of the title block layer filter, and now we can change just the line width of the match line on this, maintaining the line width that is being used on all the other layouts. Another quick change is that we don't need to show the neighborhoods. Using the area filters again, we will turn off these layers, keeping only the conference room hatch pattern. The last step is to create the PDF. We can take advantage of many different options for printing, and we can save these as configurations to quickly switch back and forth. Here we have an option to print to a letter size PDF with full color. The default location is back in the 3D drive, which is perfect since 3D drive is connected to the platform. This will automatically push this PDF back into our platform, and all the other team members will have instant access to it. Before the designer is done with these tasks, he can utilize the embedded platform tools directly inside of DraftSight to find those two tasks that he's completed and then mark them off as such. Now that the designer has completed these tasks, you can see the project planner has automatically updated and has intuitively moved up the schedule based upon this task being completed in one day instead of the 7 that was anticipated. We went through some major changes inside of DraftSight today. A quick recap of what we were able to accomplish. We showed how adding the power of the platform can significantly increase the communication and collaboration of your team. Adding some project management features allowed us to start tracking tasks, completions, and assignments. Managing files with hundreds of layers can be very time-consuming. DraftSight has several tools like the layer sets and filters that significantly make this process easier. We showed how integrating common applications like Microsoft Excel, coupled with the power of the API, can streamline your workflow process. Another benefit of the platform is changes made to the design, and new products like the PDF file we created were automatically pushed back up to the cloud to create an almost instant file sharing with the rest of the team members. I'd like to share a few customer success stories as well. We are getting feedback from thousands of customers, and they're telling us that DraftSight is a very mature product. It has a very familiar interface, and the learning curve has been very minimal for all of their team members. With the comprehensive API, as I showed you today, it can be a very powerful tool to enhance your workflow process, and it has full DWG, DXF, and DGN support. This truly has been a very cost-effective alternative that meets all of their 2D drafting and design needs. All right, that includes the first portion of this session. And I really kind of walked through and gave a high-level overview of what the use case might be from an online collaboration using the platform. Now, for the second section, I want to go ahead and dive into the details inside of DraftSight a little bit more. There was a lot of things happening, and I was using some very advanced layer capability. And this is one of the areas that I think a lot of people could use, just a little bit more information on. And I found out a few new things as I was putting this together myself. So I kind of want to dive deeper into it and share with you some of those tips and tricks and kind of walk through, really how I was able to accomplish what I did just showed with layers. So there's two areas inside of this that we're going to really kind of focus on. So if I go back over, I'm going to show the model, and we're going to go to the home. You're going to see that when I pull down this little layer box, you can see that I can have the layer states show up. These are kind of like predefined layer settings. So whether the layers are off already or they're on, visible, frozen, locked, it doesn't really matter, but it allows you to kind of take a snapshot of the layers as is and then be able to quickly kind of go back to them. So if I look at the PDF neighborhood, I'm just going to drag this down. You can kind of see it's showing, again, these regional areas that we use to calculate the areas. If I go all, this just turns on all my layers. And then we can also just do a floor plan, which is a nice, easy way of just saying this is now the concentrated area that I'm working on. So how do you create these layer states? And so the easiest way to create them is to actually set up the layers how you want to see them and then create the layer state. And then basically you're just going back to it. And let's talk about that. So I'm going to open up the layers manager. And the layer manager, I'm going to kind of resize this so you can kind of see what's going on. There's a lot of layers in this drawing. So the first thing is down here you've got these filters. These are predefined filters, and they're really useful. So if I want to just see all the hatch or just see the title block. And one of the things that I hope you picked out is I was using these filters in two ways. Not only was I looking at the actual layer set where we were turning on, but I was also using this nice little reverse filter. And the reverse filter allowed me to select everything else outside of that layer set. So I didn't have to create a all but title block. I just needed to create title block and just use this reverse filter. So that was very, very convenient. By the way, if you happen to use these layer filters, and I've done this a time or two, sometimes I'll come in to the layer manager and nothing will show up, and I'll be like, oh, what went wrong? Nothing went wrong. I just left one of the filters on or off, and I wasn't expecting it. So to create the layer filters, there's, the first thing you're going to do is let's just go to edit filters, and we're just going to add a group. Okay. And then if you'll notice under here, we have a new group filter 1. So I'll just go ahead and rename that. And in this particular case, we're just going to use PDF as an example. So there's nothing in here, so it's going to be blank, and you're like, oh, something went wrong. No, nothing went wrong. It just activated when I renamed it. So I'm going to switch back over to all. If you notice in this particular drawing, we've got some, some kind of keywords in here that we're using on our layer names, and this is important. So if you're trying to manage a lot of layers, having some of these keywords makes it super simple. Up here on the top right, I'm going to use my filter expression. So the easiest way to do this is using the wildcards. Help has a really good section on this. Asterisk is is for all. Question mark replaces kind of I believe a kind of a character if you wanted to use that. So there's a lot more advanced stuff you can do in this filter. But what we're going to do is go star PDF. Now, if you notice, there's nothing showing up just yet because we need to put a star on the back side of it. And then that's going to pick up anything that has PDF in the layer name. So that was an easy way of kind of isolating all the PDFs. But now we got to take these and we've got to put them into our actual filter down here. And how that's done is with drag and drop. So I'm going to take, and we can just kind of specify all, and then I can drag it. So as soon as I start dragging a selection, this filter area kind of pops open, and I can just kind of drop it on my PDF. So now if I go to all, I'm going to have to clear this filter. So it is actually set to all. This is one of those things, but I've got this star PDF star. So it's saying basically show me everything and then isolate it to PDF again. So let me remove that. So there's all. And then if I go back to PDF, there's my PDF. So that's kind of an easy way of showing this. So for the PDF, what we're going to do is, again, we're just going to say, let's reverse this filter. We're going to just specify all. We're going to turn off everything. And then we're going to unreverse it. We're going to specify all. And we're just going to show. So what I just did there is it literally just turned off everything but the layers that you see on PDF. So now you can see I've got just the layers with PDF turned on. So from here, now we can kind of set and create our layer state. So a couple different ways of getting the layer state dialog box. The first is you actually have a button called layer state. You can also hit this new layer state down here or manage to go to the dialog box, or from the layer manager in the top right, you'll see layer states as well. The easiest way is just for me is I'm going to click on the layer state dialog. That brings up this. And so for this one, we're going to add a new one. I'm going to give it a name. So in this one, I'm just going to say Raymond. And then what we can do once we have it is we can hit the save button. And what the save button does is takes all the existing current settings and stores it under this layer state. So I'm going to go ahead and say save. Yes, I want to overwrite. Now I can go close. Now, if I look at the layer state dialog drop-down list, or the layer state drop-down list, you can see now I've got Raymond in here. So I can switch to PDF neighborhood. I can go all, but now I also can have just those PDF layers, which is what we ended up creating in this specific example. All right, for the next thing that we're going to talk about is really kind of that OLE object that I had inserted that was automatically kind of updating for the square footage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually bring up the original Excel spreadsheet because I wanted to dive in a little bit deeper on how this works because it has a lot of capabilities, and depending on how you use it, you may want to tweak it just a bit. Any of these examples, by the way, that I'm showing, if you want a copy of, please don't hesitate to reach out and I would be more than happy to forward them on. All right, so the first thing that I want to show you when we talk about this example is a little bit of the code kind of behind the scenes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up the Visual Basic Editor. In this, again, example, I've got the code just tied to the worksheet itself for the table, and it's called refresh areas. So just quickly scanning this, basically what I'm doing is I'm connecting to the DraftSight object here. That's the current DraftSight, and then I'm aborting any commands that you're running. And so if I have to do something, I have a fresh command line. And then we're grabbing the active document. And then we're going to go through, and for every layer that we go through, we actually double check. And what we're doing is we're actually looking at this column over here, column A. So if I expand that, you'll see these are the actual layer names. And then I just have a description just to show inside of Excel. So we kind of cycle through all the layers. If one of these matches in a layer, then we're going to go grab all the polyline entities that are inside of it. You can kind of see that there's the polyline. And then we're going to basically grab its area and add it up. So any polylines on any of the layers specified in column A will get updated over on column C. So if we want to go ahead and test that out, we can go ahead and create a brand new layer. And what we're going to do is, if you notice it didn't show up, this was one of those examples of the filters. I'm currently on all PDF. So the new layer is going to be, we just want to go all reverse filter. And then when we create it, we'll see the layer name up here. So here we want to create a brand new layer. Again, I'll just call it Raymond. Say OK to that. On Raymond's layer, we want to make it active. So I should have done that in another dialog box, but we can just kind of set it there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple polylines. So let's just throw a polyline in there like that. Come back over to our Excel spreadsheet. And we're going to add a little record in here for Raymond. A little description, and then we're going to go ahead and hit refresh on that. Kind of see it went ahead and calculated that out, and it automatically took my polyline and it added it to the table. All right, the next thing I'm going to show wasn't part of the first stage of this session, but I thought it is very relevant. It actually came about from someone posted in our swim community. So if you've never been to the DraftSight swim community, it's a great way of getting a lot of feedback, kind of support, tech support, how-tos, ideas. Hey, I'm trying to accomplish A or B or C, and while the answer may not always be readily available, someone will have a great kind of alternative way of creating. So one of the questions that kind of came up was, how do I mass rename layers? And so obviously you can go and rename layers one at a time, but let's say you get a file from outside of your organization and you need to convert it to your standard. What's the best way of doing that? So we have created a quick little Excel spreadsheet that allows you to kind of go through and map layers and update those. So I'll just kind of quickly show you how this works. So first off, I've got all the automation set up on my right-click menu, so I can just go and say I want to load the existing layer names. And there's all the layer names themselves. So, if we wanted to use filters or, kind of organize this and however we want, we can. I'm going to take and, in fact, find Raymond. That was the last layer we created. And I'm going to go ahead and say rename Raymond. And again, you can do this however you want. Original Raymond, you can kind of see I've got Excel highlighting what those look like. And then all I have to do is right click and then save the layer names back over. And it's going to push those changes from Excel back over into the active DraftSight drawing. You can see that those have been highlighted, they've been updated. If I come over and now look, you can kind of see my active layer is actually rename Raymond, so it's already going to apply that from here. So the last example that we're going to do today really has to do with extracting block information from the drawing. If you look at your drawing and treat it like a database, then you're going to have attributes that are going to store information. The way the blocks work are you define the block and you tell it what attributes you want to track, and that's called your block definition. And then when you insert that block, it creates a unique instance. So that's a block instance that then treats that information separately. So here's another little Excel-based macro that will help us enable this. So the first thing we're going to do is use the right-click, again, VBA menu to import the block definitions. That's going to read the active drawing. You can see this has actually quite a bit of blocks. And what this is just doing is just telling us how many there are, what are the attributes, how many attributes, et cetera, et cetera. So we looked at this tag room name. That was the one that we've been playing around with. So I'm just going to select that, and we're going ahead and import the block or load selected block attributes. So what that's going to do is going to look through the drawing and find every instance of that block definition. It's going to read it into Excel, and it's going to populate the attribute values that is used. Now, a few quick things. The handle is the internal name. The block and layer for all of these are identical since we've only done one block, so we don't really need to worry about that. But now we have room names. We've got all this information, and if we start making mass changes to this, we can just, like maybe support 3. Here's this room. If I want to make this, instead of a room name, I want to make it Raymond, I can throw that in. If I want to know where this is, we just put in a little bit of a kind of a zoomed block. So there's the copy room. If I want to apply these attributes, I could save attributes. And again, if you're tracking and managing this information, and especially if you have to do a lot of mass updates or mass changes, Excel is easy to do that because you can link these values, you can mass import, align, etc. But I'm just going to hit Save Attribute Changes, and that's going to push that information back over, and then Excel is telling me that the changes have been made back to the drawing, and we can kind of go from there. So this is, again, a little bit more complicated example, not much more complicated from what I've shown, but the use case for managing those block attributes and specifically extracting, doing something with that data is a very awesome example of how you can use Excel and really kind of attach it to DraftSight. So that concludes really our presentation. And the only last thing to discuss is really what's next? Where do you go from here? So at 3 Experience World, we have over 17 DraftSight sessions, so you still have time to watch a few. If you've missed any, we'll be able to go back and experience them, as the recordings will be up soon. The last session of the day is our DraftSight meetup. This is where you can join us for a live Q&A. And of course, we have a swim community for our breakout sessions, so you can post questions there as well. In addition, DraftSight has its own swim community, and you can get to that by going to swim.3es.com, and then you can see the DraftSight in the list, and you can also search on that as well. That's where I'm going to be hanging out, so if you have any questions, please drop them in there, and I will be more than happy to address them. A couple other learning tools, DraftSight.com and 2dcad.com are great points. A few other learning sites would be DraftSight.com and 2dcad.com. It's great to get installation guides and kind of admin guides. Our YouTube channel, the DraftSight YouTube channel, has a learning journey that is a great place for beginners. So if you're new to DraftSight, I would highly recommend you start directly there. Then we get a lot of questions that are basic help related questions. And so I wanted to point out that you can go to the help system. It's a little question mark up in the top right. And that's a great place to start if you have an immediate need. Again, thanks for joining us today, and I hope you got something out of this session. Join me on our swim community and touch base. Thank you.